The quote of the day comes from one of our most esteemed elders. As you guys will notice the theme here. I'm pulling quotes from some of the most intelligent Black men or men in general that walk the earth. But I'm going to say that Black again just to make it specific because I want to let you guys know we're the first people on earth. Therefore, in most cases, we're probably going to be the most wisest and intelligent people out there. But going back to this again, the quote of the day from Dr. John Henrik Clarke. The most disastrous of all of their colonizations was the colonization of the image of God. That's quite a bit right there in that one sentence that he's stating. Because if you think about it, and what he's referring to is the European colonizing different parts of the world, but most importantly, Africa, and then also colonizing the African people globally. And that's why we have what we call a diaspora, because we're dispersed throughout the world. But one of the key things that they did is they colonized our mind, and more specifically, the image of God. And that's important because if you take the image of God and you make the image of God a white person, then if you're a Black person, you're praying to this person who's supposed to be God, then the natural transitory state is for you to transition that same thought process, whether willingly or unwillingly, in your subconscious to just a regular white man walking on earth. So he is the manifestation of God on earth since he is a white man, yet you're praying to this white God. And that's why oftentimes a lot of brothers like myself and sisters as well try to explain to our good church-going people, and even in the Muslim community as well, because I was a Muslim for a long period of time, our father still is, that these folks in the Bible are your people, are our people. These are African people. Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessing be upon him, was a Black man, was an African. Jesus Christ, as they say, was an African. Even his name's what they call Prophet Isa, because there wasn't even a J in the language at the time. So really his name was Isa. And we discussed that a whole another later time. But if you pull out the Bible and the Quran and the Torah and all these different books, it's basically a history of our people. That's really what these books are. And oftentimes we've taken them and looked at them as works from the Creator. And that's true in a sense because every one of us here on earth has had life breathed into us by the Creator. We're here because the Creator wants us to be for some purpose or some reason. And oftentimes, most of us don't really know what that reason is. And most times we spend our entire life either trying to find it or either some of us lucky enough have found what that reason for us being on earth is. But getting back to this, it's important that we understand images and how powerful images are, and how powerful television is, or television, as they say, vision is for us as being adults, and how that impacts our children as well. Because the images they see, that's the quickest way to learn. If you look back at our ancestors in Egypt, and even in the heart of Africa, in Ethiopia as well, the first languages, the first writing system was more calligraphy, more picture-based, because they understood that's how the mind remembered things. If you talk to psychologists, they'll tell you our mind tries to take things that we hear and listen and creates images of them, and that's how it stores it. It stores it most effectively. And so that's why images are so important. And this quote by Dr. John Henrik Clarke is so prescient, and that we must understand what's going on within ourselves and with this whole image of God, and why it's important that we not let ourselves be fooled by this white Jesus or this white Prophet Muhammad, even though there are no pictures out there. If you talk to a lot of the so-called Arab brothers, which the word Arab means black, and these are white guys, they assume that it's a white person, essentially, or someone who they consider to be Arab like them, but really they're just a subset of black people um, way down the line, essentially. But anywho, that's why the image of God is so important, and especially in the way in which people on earth um, deify and discuss and talk about God itself, especially with all these religions, mainly being, the most prevalent one, Christianity, and the belief, the widely held belief that Jesus is what they say, the Son of God. And some people say he's God, right? So, and in most cases here in the U.S., they paint that person white. But if you go ahead and Google Jesus, like in China, in Jesus in Vietnam, Jesus in Japan. The funny thing is, you'll notice that these folks understand psychology and warfare, because what they've done is they've changed the image of Jesus to a Vietnamese person or a Chinese man or whatever part of the world they're in, because they understand how powerful images are. But yet we as black people uh, here in the US and also in Africa are the only people who pray to a so-called God who does not look like us. Now, what type of sense does that make? It doesn't make any sense at all, because we don't fully understand what imagery does and how it impacts us as a people. The other thing I want you to think about, food for thought. Why would, in the past, our so-called slave master only allow us to practice this religion called Christianity? Going back to some of my previous quotes of the day, why would your enemy be providing you anything that would be beneficial to you and that would not be beneficial to him in the end? Think about this. So if Christianity was so good, why was the slave master pushing Christianity upon the slave? Because it was not good for the slave, it was good for the slave master, because it taught them to be docile. It gave them an image of God being this white man. Therefore, as I said before, if God is a white man, then the white man on earth is just a manifestation of God. And therefore, I cannot cross this manifestation of God on earth. Therefore, I need to listen and obey this white man on earth, just like I listen and obey the teachings of God, who, when I go see him, a picture of him on the wall of church, is a white man, or in my home, a white man. So all these things are related and interconnected. So we must push aside our slave mentality and our slave tendency and this slave religion, and I will include that Islam as well and some of these other religions as slave religions, because if you go talk to the brothers, when I say brothers, the brothers who practice al-Islam, many of them are practicing a form of Arabism, not really the true deen and teaching of al-Islam. They try to dress and act in an appropriate culture that the Arabs have appropriated from us thousands of years ago, not even realizing the word, like I said, Arab, it means black. So we are the true Arabs, not these white folks who have appropriated our culture, or should I say the Milli Vanillis of the world. So all these things are tied, interconnected, and weaved in together. But we must take a step back and think a little bit harder and have a deeper analysis of what's going on in this world and in our daily lives, and especially as it relates to the image of God. And I know we're oftentimes busy trying to get out there and make that ends meet, but these things are important. It could help us push our cause forward to free ourselves from bondage, mentally and economically, and control our own state moving forward in the future, whether it be in our lifetimes, on our children, on our grandchildren's, on our great grandchildren's lifetime. It will be done, and we can do it. So that's all, folks, for today. Don't want to keep you too long. I'll read the quote again. The most disastrous of all their colonizations was the colonization of the image of God. Dr. John Henrik Clarke. Have a good one.